Pamela Anderson is back in the spotlight, and this time it's in her own words, on her own terms. Anderson rose to fame in the 1990s after Playboy sought her out, a move that would springboard her career into acting. Well, she's back on the screen again, sharing her life story in a new Netflix documentary. You may have seen it already. Pamela, A Love Story, is giving viewers a front row seat into her life now, her family, and the devastating aftermath of having intimate tapes stolen and sold for the world to see. Ryan White is the director, and her son, Brandon Thomas Lee, is a producer on the film, and both of them are joining us this morning. Great to have you both here.
Thank you for having us.
Brandon, really quickly, a quick story. You were telling me you went to school here in Canada and you ran into a friend of yours here in the building?
You know, what a small world. It's so funny.
That's wild. I want to talk about the doc. Ryan, you had access to Pamela's private journals. You had access to her private videos that had never been seen before, and you had access to Pamela herself. What do you think is going to surprise people who haven't watched this documentary, who only know one version of Pamela Anderson?
I think for most people, that one version is this larger-than-life caricature. So if this film accomplishes anything, I hope it really strips that caricature away and humanizes Pamela in a way that we as pop culture society have never seen before, and gives us a little more empathy for what this woman has been through throughout her entire life.
You see it from the first frame. It is Pamela, no makeup. She is relaxed, she's carefree, she's on a beach, and instantly you draw us into this different version of her.
That was the idea. Pamela and I made this kind of handshake from the very beginning before we shot a frame of film that we were going to make the anti-celebrity documentary. This was not going to be slick and shiny. It was going to be raw and vulnerable. And those aesthetic choices were hers to wear no makeup. That's how she wanted to present. And she wanted to make something real. And hopefully that's what we did.
Well, we see a lot of real, and you're a part of that realness, Brandon. I was thinking of you while I was watching this documentary because I knew our conversation was coming up. And it's interesting to me, your mom talks about the relationship between her parents and how that's affected who she is today. And I was curious how watching your parents' relationship in the production of this affects how you are today and how you see events that you may have remembered from when you were younger.
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of my life has been a very fast, blur. You know, when you're in the spotlight like that and your family is under that kind of scrutiny, you tend to, fall in on each other, and you kind of, end up being very insulated and not really a part of the outside world. Just, your family's just trying to protect you and all that stuff. So I think for the first time in this documentary too, I'm seeing a lot of things that were happening around us and around my family for the first time.
And you're processing it as an adult. How does that sit with you?
I mean, and I've said this before, it's actually crazy because it's like watching my life come together in reverse, right? And I'm sitting there, we're going through cuts and all this stuff, and I'm watching archive that explains experiences that I remember as a kid that I didn't have the full story, or I didn't know why we moved a certain place, or why we were, who this person was, or, why we were there. And so it's weird. It's like, it really is like watching your life come together in reverse, like watching all the puzzle pieces fall into place. So it was a very unique experience.
I wondered about the title, A Love Story. I went in thinking it was going to be about Pamela and Tommy Lee's love story. And there's a few love stories, but one of the themes that stands out is it's a real love between you and your mom and your brother.
Yeah, we're very close. I mean, every day I'm with my brother. I speak with my mom every day. I mean, we're kind of like a very...
She loves you, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, you see it as a mom, you see it all over her face.
I think, we all are just very bonded. We've been through a lot together, and I think that really brings people together.
Yeah. Ryan, what's incredible when we look back on the career version, what a lot of us know about Pamela before you watch this, is that she never sought out any of this fame. Playboy approached her. They called her. They brought her down to the States. And then Baywatch called her 11 times. They joke about this before she got to play this role. She kind of blew it off. She's like, it's too far to drive. She doesn't seem to seek out the spotlight in any of her fame at all. Did that surprise you?
It did surprise me, and I think it's part of the recipe of the stardom of Pamela Anderson was that she wasn't desperately seeking that, and so I think that magnetically endeared people to her even more. I know as a documentary filmmaker that endeared me to her, that she didn't really care about the documentary, and so I often call it a Cinderella story on steroids because it's like the most rock and roll version of Cinderella, but she fell into all of these crazy situations, almost like Forrest Gump, through the 80s, and 90s.
You see her at Cannes, you see her on the front of magazines.
And it's all so matter of fact, you know? And so that's how Pamela sees her life, as these series of instances where she said yes instead of no, and then that opened a new door and she headed in that direction.
Brandon, there's a line in there that your mom says, which is like, to be in love is insane, something along those lines. And, you know, you watch the love relationship of your grandparents, who she describes as sort of chaotic and romantic and in love. You watch your parents' relationship, which also has a similar feel to it. How would you describe love now?
You know, it's very interesting. I think I've had a lot of examples in my life of what love could possibly be, but I think, you know, after all, I think, you know, love is just someone that, you know, you find fascinating and you want to just continually get to know more about. And I think that's what my mom would say is love is, you know, curiosity and bravery and all these different things. And I think that's why she lives such a romantic life, as she'll tell you, is because she's always curious. She's always trying to learn more about who or what or whatever she's doing at the moment. And I think, you know, that's a very admirable way to live, because a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah, it's a really great story, and I'm glad you're both here to share your version and your parts of it as well. I know your mom's in Toronto, and she's probably watching you this morning.
She probably is, actually.
She'll probably have notes for us.
She'll have notes for later. Hey, a reminder, the documentary is called Pamela, A Love Story.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.